Hi everyone, welcome back to the Alkaline Vegan Eats, where you can get all your nutritional information and more. Want to remind you that health is wealth, and without it, you have nothing. Also, I want to thank you for joining me again because you are taking steps to going to through that transition of a better lifestyle and hopefully to an alkaline lifestyle. So today we are talking about dairy. I know a lot of people don't want to hear about dairy because we love dairy. And the reason why we love dairy is dairy gives us a high effect. It's like an opioid. It sets off our dopamine or our happy sensors. And so once, it's our feel good sensor. So once we eat it and consume it, we feel good. And then when we don't have it, we start to crave it and we start to want it. And so therefore, it's something that a lot of people say they cannot give up. But believe it or not, you can. I used to be a huge cheese eater and I love cheese. But it was one of those things where I knew it was affecting me negatively. So I gave it up. And over time, when I would go back and I would say, you know what, let me try a piece of cheese again. Your taste buds change. You'll trust me. You'll no longer want it. You'll be like, why was I eating this in the first place? And the great thing is today, there's so many alternative options out there for dairy, which I'm going to drop in the description box. So that way you have somewhere to start. But you have to be careful with dairy products, or non-dairy products, I should say. There are a lot of additives and preservatives. At the end of the day, for a lot of these companies, it's all about making money. And so they want their shelf life for items to be long so that way they can, don't have to produce as much and not as much goes to waste. So you be very careful with any non-dairy products that you're consuming. And a lot of the non-dairy products like your yogurts, carry a lot of, and the ice creams carry a lot of sugar. So just be very cognizant of that. And you want to make sure you read those labels. So getting back to dairy, dairy has an enzyme. It's called lactose. Okay. And so believe it or not, 65 to 70% of the world's population cannot consume dairy and not have some type of negative side effect from it. What happens is with dairy is that our Northern Europeans actually have a genetic mutation that allows them to consume dairy. For the rest of the world, we do not have that genetic mutation. Africans or African Americans, 86% of us do not carry that enzyme to break down lactose. And then 95 to 98% of Asians do not have that enzyme to break down lactose. And so what happens is for all of us who always thought, well, man, I can't consume any dairy, it affects me negatively, I'm abnormal, it is actually people who can consume dairy and not have a negative side effect to be abnormal. It's abnormal for us to actually be able to consume dairy. So we are the norm. It is okay to have side effects like runny nose, stuffy nose. Dairy can exacerbate your asthma, to have eczema related to it, to have arthritis related to it, and even just things like sinusitis or having sinus infections, bronchitis, is because we should not be consuming dairy of no sort from any animal. You wouldn't see any other mammals out there that consume dairy. We're the only ones that don't consume our own mother's milk. You don't see a cow out there drinking giraffe's milk. You don't see a weasel drinking hamster milk. Like, you don't see that out there. We're the only ones. So the best type of milk, if you have to have it, is to have your mother's milk. And obviously, over time, once you become a toddler, an adult, you then can consume non-dairy options. You have your milk that comes from nuts or from seeds that is non-dairy, that holds a ton of benefits for you. There are no benefits that are carried from dairy like we were once told. Actually, dairy, they said drink dairy for calcium, and vitamin D, and so that way, you can have strong bones. Come to find out, all of the countries that have high dairy consumption also have high osteoporosis issues and diseases. And so that is the weakening of bones. You have, especially in older people, you have high fractures and weakened bones and broken bones. And this is why when an older person falls, it's very detrimental because their bones are so weak over years of consumption of dairy that it's usually not a good turnout as far as it healing, because they've been weakened. The minerals have been stripped from their bones because of consuming dairy. So we want to make sure that, dairy is not an option for us anymore if we want to get to that older age and we want to be able to still play basketball or still, go jogging or still whatever our athletic hobby is. Even just walking through a mall. If we want to get to that point at any age, we want to make sure that we start intaking plant-based dairy, so that way we don't have issues later on in life. Also, with dairy, you basically are clogging your drainage system in your body. And this is where it leads to a lot of issues with like acne or eczema, because what happens is that all of the toxins are being backed up in your body and they can't flush out. You have what is called a lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is basically your drainage system in your house. If you have your house, your body is your house, you have your house. You have your bathtub, your toilet, your sinks. And so what happens is if you start dumping toxic waste on top of toxic waste and not flushing that toilet, not being able to flush the sink, not being able to drain through the tub, all of that toxic buildup, you're going to end up with a house that is going to smell really bad and it's probably not going to be livable. Well, the same thing happens to your body. The inside of your body drainage system is backed up with toxic waste from drinking things like dairy or intaking dairy and eating toxic foods. And so what happens with dairy, it's very acidic. It causes your body to have a lot of mucus, produce a lot of mucus. With that mucus buildup, that mucus is there to help you. Remember, we talked about the mucus membrane. That mucus membrane is there to collect and hold all those toxins so they don't run around and wreak havoc in your body. But what happens is that this lymphatic system that is now clogged because of all this mucus, cannot flush these toxins out. So the mucus starts to build up and take over your cells. They start to clog your lymphatic or your drainage system. And so therefore, all of these toxins begin to wreak havoc inside your body. And as you consume more and it's not being flushed out, your body now becomes toxic. And that is where you're going to lead to other issues like diseases, and you'll lead to other issues like skin conditions. You'll lead to other issues like having sinus infections, having ear infections. What it is mucus buildup that is full of toxins, full of bacteria, pathogens. It's with ear infections, it settles in your ear. With sinus infections or sinusitis, it settles in the nasal cavity. If you have pneumonia, bronchitis, it's settling in the lungs. All of that is due to mucus, which is holding all of the toxic waste, holding all of the bacteria. It now becomes a petri dish or a breeding ground for infections to take place, for diseases to take place. And so you have to just remember, you want to lessen the consumption of acidic products, and dairy is probably one of the most acidic. If nothing else, if you can't stop eating meat, or you can't stop eating poultry, or you can't stop eating seafood or fish, then at least get rid of the dairy. You'll notice a difference. Give up dairy for a month. You're going to notice the difference in how your body feels, how your body moves. Dairy is one of the leading causes of arthritis and has a huge link to autoimmune diseases. So you want to make sure that you are staying far away from it. There are some other alternatives as far as your calcium intake, and that you will get through eating an alkaline lifestyle. A lot of your vegetables carry calcium in it, and fruits carry calcium in it that you won't even, need to worry about having dairy. So if your consumption of calcium is a big concern for you, trust me, you can do without it using a plant-based diet, and not needing, or even a alkaline lifestyle, and not needing dairy products. I hope I answered your questions about dairy and what it does to your body. And I will drop in the description box as to some alternatives that you can have. And hopefully, we can get you to get rid of the dairy, get a non-dairy alternative, and get you feeling better. Hope to see you guys soon. Love you.